The terror attack on poor migrant laborers in the Kashmir Valley, really the most vulnerable, helpless group, is abominable. And it also brings home the grim reality that the Kashmir story is complex and is not being fully or fairly told in the Western media and also by many Western diplomats. In fact, I'd go so far as to argue that some of our own political pundits have failed to tell the entire story of Jammu and Kashmir, focusing on the human rights violations and the political and communications clampdown of people there, which is legitimate, but not mentioning the horror that is being unleashed by terror groups and how threats from militants is also pushing the clampdown and obstructing normal life. We have also seen repeated attacks, for example, on truck drivers, 4 such attacks taking place by terrorists in the last 2 weeks. Now, India and Indians have every right to be outraged that these are facts that don't get the space they deserve at, for example, US congressional hearings or in newspapers like the New York Times. But while India must and should counter this propaganda and drive home these facts before the global community, the way to do that is not to take a group of European lawmakers to the Kashmir Valley before Indian parliamentarians have had a chance to access the valley, and worse still, be associated with a woman called Madi Sharma.
I am the most successful person in the world,
Who describes herself on her Twitter page as an international business broker about whom virtually nothing is known. Now, the reason that Madi Sharma is getting the kind of media attention that she is because it is at the invitation of her organization that all of these European lawmakers came to India and subsequently went to the Kashmir Valley. Remember, they are not here in their official capacity. So we try to find out a little more about who Madi Sharma is. Like I said, if you go to her Twitter page, she calls herself, among other descriptions, an international business broker. What does that mean? Remember, this is somebody who can be seen in photographs with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, no less. So I think everybody will be really curious to find out who she is. But actually, if you go to the website that her Twitter page is linked to, madisharma.org, she seems to be quite an international woman of mystery. She says she runs something called the Madi Group. So we clicked on that. We clicked on the tab that says work. And when you scroll down, what is really curious is that there's a whole list of companies and ventures and activities that the Madi Group is said to be engaged in, but either none of the highlighted words link to any further website or offer any details, or when you click on the link, there is only one answer. The site for these companies seems to be down. So at the end of it, while there are descriptions and supposed hyperlinks provided, none of the company links seem to work, or they don't offer any further details. Now, it is a bit of an embarrassment that European lawmakers themselves seem quite puzzled as to who has invited them and who this person is. And given that there is a legitimization that has taken place of Madi Sharma at the highest levels of government, one would expect the Foreign Affairs Ministry to perhaps tell us who exactly is Madi Sharma and what is her influence that she has been able to get the government to facilitate this entire trip of the European lawmakers to the Kashmir Valley. We dug a little deeper and we found that Madi Sharma had written an article in a publication called EP Today supporting the abrogation of Article 370 in Kashmir. Now, of course, Madi Sharma is perfectly entitled to her points of view. But then we did a little more digging on what is EP Today. And we found that the Guardian newspaper had done a pretty elaborate investigation, and they said that the EP Today was actually misusing the name of the European Union and was republishing a lot of information from RT or Russian Today. And in fact, the Guardian report says that this is more of a lobbying platform. Now, one would imagine that the government, before sort of accepting Madi Sharma as a legitimate voice on Kashmir and facilitating this group of lawmakers who are here at her invitation, would have also done the same homework. So many questions about Madi Sharma that remain unanswered. The other thing that hasn't gone well for the government in countering Pakistani propaganda with this European lawmakers trip is of course the fact that you have somebody like Chris Davies, who was initially part of the group, dropping out. He dropped out because he says he asked for unfettered access to meet the people and this was denied to him. And quote unquote, he said he was not ready to be part of a public relations stunt. That is something that the government at this point did not need to hear, and once again points to the fact that this particular trip of these European lawmakers, both to India and within India to the Kashmir Valley, had not been fully thought through by the government. In fact, even one of the members of this European delegation that has gone to Kashmir is now saying that, well, look, if we're here, why not allow Indian opposition members of parliament to come too? And that is in fact the most weak dimension to the government's argument. Yes, by all means, the government should be out there seeking international support, highlighting the fact that Pakistan patronizes terror groups like the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed, highlighting the fact that you have threats from militants obstructing the return to normal life, that there is no curfew in place by the government, that non-Kashmiris are being attacked and killed by terrorists. All of these are legitimate facts to highlight. But when you deny political access or access to the valley to Indian members of parliament, which now even members of this delegation are pointing out, then it becomes a kind of a self-goal. So the conclusion is this: we want to know who Madi Sharma is, and we also want to know why Indian opposition parliamentarians cannot get access to the Kashmir Valley if European lawmakers can. This particular move by the government, while well-intentioned, while trying to seek global support and trying to bust Pakistani propaganda, should have been much better thought through.